I'm Lorna Gibson. I'm in the materials department. I teach two courses. One's on mechanical behavior of materials, 3032. That's what I'm going to talk about today. And in 2013, we started preparing it as an MIT X course to offer it online. So we videotaped the lectures. I read the lecture notes. We made up online problem sets. And then we started offering it online, and we've done it every fall since then. And then I was continuing to teach the course at MIT, and over the last few years, the course has evolved. And what I really wanted to talk about today was how the course has evolved. So what we've done at MIT is, in 2013, that fall, we put the online course together. And then in 2014, I taught the course in the traditional format. So the traditional format is I was lecturing 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, for an hour. The TA did a recitation. And we had written problem sets that we handed out 1 week, and the students handed in the following week, and we graded and then handed back the week after that. So in 2014, we just used that same format, but the students at MIT had access to all the online stuff that the MIT X kids had. So if they had to miss a lecture for some reason, they could look at the video of the lecture. They were still handing in the same problem sets, these written problem sets. But I was doing the same lectures. And a lot of the students kind of said to me, wow, your live lectures are virtually identical to the video lectures. And I had put a lot of work into making those videos. I had gone over the whole lectures again. I had redone the notes. And I had made it the way I want it. So when I was lecturing, the live lectures, it pretty much was the same as the videos. And there were about, let's see, there's about 30, 35 students take this class most years. And I'd say of the top 5 students in the class, I think 3 of them never came to class. They were just watching the lecture videos, and they were doing great just doing that. So then the following year, in 2015, I flipped the class. And this is the schedule that we arranged. So you know how MIT X has week 1, week 2, it goes week by week. So each week was released on a Wednesday, and then the following Monday, I did a recitation. I also did a recitation on the Tuesday, and then the problem set, the online problem set, was due that Tuesday, close to midnight, and then the following day, the next week, was released, and then the following Thursday, the TA did a review of the previous week, and then on that Friday, we had a little 15-minute Quizlet, which was based on the problem set. So this went fairly well. And we did a little student survey, and the students preferred this format. We did the 1 to 7 scale. 7 was they loved it, 1 was they hated it. So they preferred it. They liked the instantaneous feedback that they got, the green check mark with the online problem sets. I was worried that they didn't think they had enough time with me, and mostly they thought they did have enough time with me. And most of them thought that they learned the material better. We also got some comments. They said things like being exposed to the concepts more times helped me cement them in my mind. They loved the instantaneous feedback on the problem sets. They thought it was great for covering key concepts in depth. A number of people complained that the online problem sets were too easy. And I guess I found with the online problem sets, if you give them something hard, we only grade the final numerical answer. So if you give them some big, long, complicated thing, they may not get that numerical answer, but they may understand a lot of it, and it seems kind of unfair. And the other option is you can kind of lead them through it step by step, but then it kind of defeats the whole purpose of having a hard problem because you kind of told them how to do it. So the online problems were a little too easy. Some of the criticisms were, one person said they didn't learn the derivations in as much detail as if they'd sat through them in lecture. I think that's because they just didn't spend as much time on the videos. They didn't, they weren't sort of looking at it as carefully. And the people who don't like it, they don't like the flipped classroom. They really prefer having the live lecture so they can ask me questions. From my point of view, I liked the flipped class. I felt the advantages were the problem sets are in sync with the lecture material. They look at a set of videos, they do the problem set, they get the answers, they do the little Quizlet all in 9 days. So everything's in sync. I liked the instantaneous feedback on the problem set questions. And then this little weekly Quizlet gave them some incentive to review the material after they've done the problem set. The disadvantages I felt were the students seemed kind of focused on the problem set and less on the lectures. And they did well on the numerical problems, but seemed a little weaker on the concepts. So this past fall, the term that we've just had, what I did was I modified the flipped class a little. We still had the online problems, but I added a written problem set. And the written problem set had 2 questions each week, and it was more challenging. And I arranged with the TA that it would be graded overnight. So the students would hand it in one night, it would get graded, and they would get it back the next day. And it would be before they had the little weekly mini quiz, the Quizlet. And instead of a 1-hour recitation, I did an hour and a half, because I found the hour wasn't quite enough. So this was the schedule we had this past term. So again, the weekend would get released on a Wednesday. I would do an hour and a half recitation on a Monday. The online problem set was due on Tuesday. The written one was due on the Wednesday. And then they would get that back the Thursday and have the little Quizlet thing on the Friday. So these were comments that I got at the end of this term, and I liked the first one the best. Made me happy and confident, which is not something you hear from MIT students a lot, happy and confident. So I like that. And I think they really liked the combination of the written and the online problem sets. A number of them said they would try the online problems first because they were easier, and it kind of gave them some confidence, like, oh, I get this, I can do this. And then they would try the written ones. And I made the written ones hard enough that typically they couldn't get it without coming to class and getting some hints on how to do it. Here's another comment. Really like the combination of simple online questions and more interesting written questions. I love the Quizlets. I had far more resources in this class format than I do in a traditional class. And again, some people thought it was still too easy. One person said, can all my classes be flipped, please? And another person said, I didn't like the flipped classroom style. I wish the lectures could have been in person. And I think there's always going to be a handful of students who prefer the live lectures. So I think the flipped format is working pretty well. I think maybe we could do with a few more online problems and maybe some more challenging written problems. So I might work on the problems a little bit. But overall, I think it's working pretty well. And I think one of the students is that there's lots of resources available. It's very flexible. They can watch the lectures whenever they want. One student told me he watched the lectures in bed. I'm like, too much information? I don't need to know that. So they can do whatever they want. They like getting the instant feedback, and then they liked having these somewhat harder questions that were written questions that they handed in and then got back the next day. So that's it.